Hi friends, how are you doing? I hope you are doing great. Let me show you one recipe that's really quick and simple, and this is called the cauliflower steak, but I would like to focus on this green sauce. We are going to call it the cauliflower steak because it's called the cauliflower steak in the How Not to Die cookbook. And in this video, I will not be getting too much into the nutritional info. Just know that cauliflower is kind of cool for you. And while it's called a steak, do not expect a steak out of it. I have a couple of tips on how to cut the cauliflower. Do not core it too much. If you're going to core it too much, it's going to fall apart just like mine did, and you're going to have just like a couple of steak pieces, and the rest of the pieces are just going to be small little cauliflower heads that you chopped off. So core it moderately so there is no dirt, there is no insects. Check out those insects that can be inside the cauliflower. You just slice the cauliflower vertically so you have those nice steaks made out of your cauliflower. The recipe is super duper simple. However, you will require a high speed or just a blender, a food processor, somewhere where you can make a nice and kind of a runny sauce. We are taking one cauliflower head. Here I'm taking 2 cauliflower heads. Why? Because my cauliflower heads were really tiny, like this big, 300 grams. It's not too much. I wanted a little bit more cauliflower feast in my kitchen, so I'm taking 2. Adjust the cauliflower amount by your needs, and we are slicing them vertically as I already mentioned, and we preheat the oven at 220 degrees Celsius or 425 degrees Fahrenheit, after which the cauliflower is ready to be layered onto the baking tray and sent into the oven for about 8 minutes, after which you can check on it and flip it so it roasts from the other side. It's going to have a little bit of a brown edge, which is going to be nice. As you can see here, apart from the cauliflower, we have some greens. The sauce can be used with anything. Keep it aside, make more of it. It's really nice on any kind of dishes. I would imagine it could go great on salads. So here we have the herbs, coriander, parsley. As you can imagine, it's quite fresh. If you don't like coriander or if you don't like parsley, maybe that sauce is not for you. But if you like just one of those, keep that one of those. It's very nice. You can also try adding a little bit of mint. This will bring out some freshness, but don't overdo it. It can be too minty. And in our spice bowl, we have some great spices. The best spices are the spices that you like and use. Do not keep your spices for too long on your shelf. It's not what they were meant for. Normally the spices are already packaged and they are not too fresh, which is why it is sometimes recommended to get the spices that you actually have to grind so they're fresher or their flavor is released right at the moment when you grind them. But that's not the point of this discussion. Let's just go into the spices. We have some turmeric. Of course, with the turmeric, we add some ground black pepper. We add some smoked paprika, ground ginger, ground cumin, and ground coriander. Overall, this spice blend smells amazing, and this does provide some anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. Apart from this, here you can notice that I am using a little bit of garlic cloves because those are going to go into the blender. I'm just crushing them. I'm not very precise with whatever I'm doing with the garlic cloves. I also do have some miso because miso paste contains both pre and probiotics. It's really good for your gut health. It can help recolonize your gut with healthy bacteria, and as well as that provide some food for the already existing bacteria in your gut. By the way, it's really easy to cook some miso soup, but that's a topic of another video probably. But one thing about miso is that you don't want to overcook it. Maybe cooking on a medium heat for around 5 minutes is enough. Why? Because as we just said, it does have some living bacteria, probiotics. So just don't kill them off by overcooking your miso. And while this is a general principle, we are not going to cook our miso in this recipe. So let's just go straight into blending while our cauliflower is being cooked in the oven. And I almost forgot 2 tablespoons of a blended peeled lemon, as it is called for in the cookbook, How Not to Die cookbook. However, I never blended and peeled my lemon. I always just took the lemon with the pulp, and that's about it. And this sauce is kind of straightforward, you know. You just take everything that's not cauliflower and blend it. Here I'm using the food processor, like with the sharper blade, because I wanted to make sure that my herbs are getting properly chopped up. Well, maybe this was an overkill and you can actually use just a high-speed regular blender. Just if you're blending it, make sure that the lid is closed, because the water is going to just splash out everywhere. We add a little bit of water to add the watery consistency. You can add it gradually depending on how watery you like your sauce to be. Mine is pretty fine, but maybe I would like it a little bit thicker. For this, you can also add a little bit more herbs. And as I said, this sauce is a killer. You will absolutely love this one. The miso gives it a little bit of a saltiness, and the herbs give it so much freshness. Once the cauliflower is done, we are also done. It's such an amazing dish. It's so fibrous. I want to tell you that if you do not feel very comfortable after fibrous meals, maybe you can start with smaller amounts and give your gut some time to get used to it, especially if you don't have any underlying gut issues. If you do, though, just be a little bit more careful with it. You don't want to overload your damaged areas of the gut with more work. This is just a general principle which works everywhere. Basically, if something is broken, you don't put more pressure onto it. However, do remember that some bloating or some flatulence after a fibrous meal is absolutely all right. Some of the fibers, especially the soluble fibers, are going to be fermented and digested by your gut bacteria, while the insoluble fiber are just going to help with the bowel movements, which is a great thing overall, isn't it? This is how easy it is to spice up your cauliflower and really enjoy it, maybe with some grains, some beans, some potatoes, why not? And you can also reuse this sauce on salads, with other meals, on bowls. It's amazing. And thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. I think I will create another playlist with nutritional information. For different foods, I think it will be easier to keep it updated and also keep it consistent with the research, which I find to be quite fascinating. Nutritional science is all the way booming right now. So let's see how that goes. Meanwhile, I invite you to connect on my Instagram. I will be more than happy to connect with you there. I'm posting more regularly and I'm doing my best to provide some tips on how to make the most out of your meals so they can impact your health in a positive manner, which I think is really important. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to know what you eat. It's fun and it's also important. Share the video and the cooking process with someone you love. I bet it can be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for joining once again, and I see you in the next one.